It's very easy to make fun of the early Resident Evil games, so I'm going to do just that right now.
That was too close. You were almost a Jill sandwich.
You're right.
He's failed to appreciate the gravity of Jill nearly dying.
There was this incident involving these zombie-like creatures.
That sentence sounds slightly awkward, as if it hasn't been localized properly.
It's finally over. Huh?
Oh, Nemesis, what are you like? Oh, that was fun. But while these games could be silly at times, what they had in abundance was atmosphere, a creeping sense of dread coupled with effective cinematic scares that made them some of the most effective horror games of their time. Now, Resident Evil 4 is still one of the best games ever, but it marked the start of the series' transition from survival horror to action, a change that was cemented by Resident Evil 5, a game that many fans felt lacked the horror elements that made the series so distinctive.
This whole town's gone to hell. The people here, they're acting like those Donato detailed in the Kennedy report.
So is Resident Evil 6 going to continue this trend, or might we see a move back towards the horror that old-school Resident Evil fans love? Is horror even still a core element of a Resident Evil game? Don't ask me, I don't know. Maybe this guy does.
I definitely think horror is a cornerstone of the franchise, but for me, what's really important is that you always have the main characters and they're always following what you could say the hero's journey thing. You always have the hero winning in the end. So I think that's where we differ from other horror media. And so I want to make sure that, especially with RE6, that we follow that hero's journey and that you have these heroes facing these horrific threats, but in the end, they overcome them.
Okay, the hero's journey. Well, if it's heroes you're after, Resident Evil 6 has plenty of them, with 3 main campaigns focusing on Chris, Leon, and new hero Jake Muller, Wesker's son, as well as an additional campaign featuring enigmatic spy and evening wear aficionado Ada Wong. According to Capcom, this allows them to explore different kinds of horror within the same game.
I think the biggest difference between all the campaigns is the way we've introduced horror elements. For example, Leon's campaign is more that gothic horror, that classic Resident Evil style horror setting. Chris's campaign is more like the Alien movies, where you start out with a big group of people, and one by one they get picked off by creatures and stuff in the game. So the horror of losing your teammates and not knowing who's going to die next. And then with Jake's campaign, he's being chased by a creature all throughout his campaign, this relentless pursuer that keeps stalking you. And I think for people who play all of them, they'll really enjoy getting to experience horror from a different perspective.
全部楽しんでもらえたらなと思います。
Ada's campaign is you get to have fun of playing in the world of Resident Evil 6, but you're all by yourself. So that brings its own horror taste to the game. Now, Ada, as you know, she's a world-class spy, so there's a lot of infiltration into different areas and trying to sneak around with her campaign. And what's great about Ada's campaign is because even after you complete the other 3 campaigns, there's going to be a lot of unanswered questions. Ada's campaign is the key to answering all those questions. So I hope that everyone plays through all the other campaigns in Resident Evil 6 and unlocks Ada's campaign. That way they'll really get the full story of Resident Evil 6.
From what we've seen, the game still seems very action-oriented, with a lot of cover-based shooting and not very much in the way of exploring spooky old gothic mansions. But with 4 separate campaigns, there is plenty of room for it to live alongside the action, so we could still be pleasantly surprised come November. What do you think? Do you prefer your Resident Evil with more gung-ho action, or are you a survival horror fan, never happier than when scraping together enough bullets to negotiate a narrow corridor with 2 zombies in it? Let us know in the comments below. Now, back to the hilarious Resident Evil clips.
I'll be examining this. Hope this is not Chris's blood.